Hi, Nigel. Would you believe it? Sarah Pushin, who I think you think is going to be your Home Secretary, she's only gone and misrepresented something again, resulting in a group being very clear that actually they've got nothing to do with Sarah nor reform. I mean, Sarah saying there's been just a little bit of confusion. She just happened to turn up at this boxing club. There she is to do an interview where she happened to make out that maybe she'd helped the club. Whereas in reality, she shouldn't have been filming there and they didn't know anything about it. Speaking of liars, you also need to have a little chat with this reform leader who's making out that a school principal got fired under a sort of cloud of mystery. Whereas in reality, she just moved on to a different job. You might want to have a little chat with Deputy Dick as well, because he's really cross that other sovereign countries are saying that the Brits can't buy second homes there. Which is kind of ironic, isn't it, when you're trying to deport everybody that are settled here. You might want to have a little chat with Councillor Craig Holmes as well. Used to be a Tory, now he's a reformer, the usual. But he seems to think it's a little bit woke to complain about him and a few of his mates just pissing outside somebody's house. He's like, that's where the bus stops, so that's where I did it. You might want to talk to him about that. Now, there were some other things I needed to talk to you about, but it slipped my mind at the moment, a bit like the British media, who still haven't tried to find out who actually really did buy that house in Clacton. The one that you said you bought, but then you said you didn't, it was your partner, who happened to have that much cash lying around. Now, was it this? Because the media still haven't asked you about this, have they? Cottrell, who's like a son to you, is currently being investigated by the HMRC, having already previously served time for being done for fraud. But I don't think it was this. It wasn't even this, even though I do question why the media, who were falling over themselves to find out about Lord Ali and what he was donating to the Labour Party. Do you remember? Seemingly they don't care that you haven't actually declared any earnings on top of your MP salary since May, even though we all know you've actually earned stuff. But it wasn't this either. That was it. Back to Nathan Gill and that Russian connection. Nathan Gill, who was your leader of reform in Wales. So there's been another article asking if in fact you do have a Russian problem within reform. And in that article, I found this. The British press must have forgotten to report on it, because they're saying that one of the biggest corporate sponsors to reform had sold almost $2 million worth of sensitive material to a major supplier of Moscow's blacklisted state weapons agency, just 2 days after you came back and announced that you were going to be the leader. That's a coincidence, isn't it? And the article also looked at the Australian discovery of somebody, whoever, spreading pro-Kremlin talking points and posting support for reform. And some of those posts were shared by reform candidates, which sort of ties into James Cartledge's remarks about saying that you seem to attract conspiracy theorists, like the anti-vaxxers and people that support Putin. I mean, not that you support Putin. When questioned about this donation, you said that you've never approved of anything that Putin's done. There was that time that you said you really admired him. There was that time that you sort of voted against the EU before Putin for spreading disinformation. Disinformation, which is basically conspiracy theories, isn't it? It's a bit like when you said it was one of your manifesto promises to take the UK out of the WEF. I think the WEF and George Soros is one of Putin's most successful conspiracy theories. Plus, of course, there is no membership of the WEF. I mean, you do seem to fall for some rubbish. But, I thought this was interesting today. Your mate Gawain, who's now on the board of Reform, saying it's a myth that without mainstream media, you'd be nothing. And I have to say, I agree with him. Because a lot of your popularity actually comes from social media, which you got on board with so quickly. You were well ahead of the curve. Even when you were an MEP, you had an aide who used to put your stuff up on social media really quickly. An aide that used to visit the Russian embassy a lot. So I guess to answer my own question here, Nigel, do you have a Russia problem? Well, I don't think it seems to be a problem at all. It seems to be really well oiled and working well for you. Anyway, good chats, as you were.